All right, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's movie tagline goes like this: What are you really worth? What do you think about that tagline?
I mean, it's a good tagline. I love it.
Fits perfectly with the
It's
movie, right?
perfectly with the movie. Yep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your seats because movie bites. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in for another episode of MovieByte Podcast. I am your host, Ruben, and with me, my brother in arms, the Russian. How you doing today, brother?
I'm excellent today. Thank you, Ruben. See, I got prepared. Got
He's prepared for today's movie,
I mean,
as
we're
all
talking
you can
about
see.
right baseball movie. That's the only shirt that I have which represents baseball. It has a backstory, but I'm not gonna tell it today. Maybe at
Hey,
some point.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I've never imagined you would own a baseball jersey.
I never thought that I would win $1,000 from a dollar on a DraftKings betting on baseball, where I don't even know the rules. But the beauty about this movie is that you don't really need to know baseball to appreciate it.
You don't. And what movie we're talking about? So if you're just tuning in and you are looking at that little marquee on top of us, we're talking about Moneyball, released in 2011, starring Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, and the very late Phillip Seymour Hoffman, and among other actors that were very unknown by that time, but now they're big stars like Chris Pratt.
Yep, that's Chris Pratt before Guardians of the Galaxy.
Before Guardians of the Galaxy, before Jurassic World.
He propelled to stardom. All right, so the category we picked this is the sports movie category.
Sports
right?
movie. I picked this movie
was
under
your
that category.
All right, so why out of all the sports movies we have? I mean, we had so many options. You know, League of Their Own, Broody, just to mention few.
There,
Like,
I mean, yeah, and to be fair, like this is not my top favorite baseball movie. You know, I'm a big major league fan, but there is a thing about this movie that, like you said, anybody can watch it and understand it. It does involve baseball, but it's more about analytics. And the plot of this movie is basically how this metric that they use to create this team, which is, again, the movie's based on a true story, changed the game of baseball. Okay? And we're going to go into details with that. But first of all, let's talk about a little bit of movie details. Okay? Moneyball was released on September 23rd of the year 2011. It opened up against movies like Dolphin Tale, the re-release of Lion King in 3D. It went on to gross about $119 million, so it was a moderate box office hit. On its opening weekend in January, it made $19.5 million. It finished second place behind The Lion King, with Lion King generated about $21 million on that weekend, being an animated movie released in September. Also, it was like during the whole 3D phase. But it was a moderate box office hit. It was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor for Jonah Hill, Best Adapted Screenplay as well, and I think Best Director as well for Mr. Bennett.
Bennett Miller. I don't think
Bennett
he got
Miller.
the best director. I think they got the score as well, the music nomination. That
Yes.
being said, like, it's for the studio to give that kind of money. It was $50 million budget for the first of sports movie, second of baseball movie. So it's not going to do well overseas because overseas Europe, nobody plays baseball. Nobody knows what baseball is. I mean, they know, but nobody cares. It's the same way like in America, nobody cares about soccer. They start caring nowadays, but
Yeah.
back then. So yeah, it's a risk. It's a gamble. So they had to find the right director, right cast. Originally, this was project was attached to Soderbergh, he wanted to direct it, but he wanted to direct it in more documentary style way.
Yeah.
He wanted the baseball players to be actually played by the true team who was represented in a storyline. So the
Yes.
storyline is about the team, which is Oakland Athletics, and their season of 2012.
2002.
2002. Jesus Christ, I'm bad with numbers.
Okay.
I can't do a review
You're
of this
good. I
movie.
got you on
This
this
is
one.
all about the math, right? All right.
I got you on this. I mean, this
2002.
movie was very successful. I think the marketing behind this movie, the fact that it was released on September 23rd, just around the corner for baseball playoffs, was perfect timing. All right. So October baseball, for those who are baseball fans, is the time of playoff push for most teams, and when the playoff starts. And having a movie about a team like the Oakland Athletics, which is what the team is based on, at that time they were also already that year they were a very also strong team, and they were still using the same metrics they used in this movie because Billy Beane was still a GM for them at that time. So I think that's what paid off as well, and obviously the word spread out, like the performances from Brad Pitt himself. And know, and remember, for those who were with us, like last week, we talked about like how Brad Pitt grows, from Legends of the Fall to like Moneyball, right? It's a big like growth in his like acting career. I think he got, this was his second Best Actor nomination and his third nomination overall. Obviously, he got nominated, I believe, for the
12
Curious Case of
monkeys.
Benjamin Button years before,
Yeah.
and then Best Actor again for Moneyball, and then eventually 2 years ago he won for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as a Best Supporting Actor. So he finally got that Oscar that he was seeking for so long. So he's kind of like Leo DiCaprio. He was doing movies after movie, not being recognized strongly enough. And the one movie that you unexpectedly expect him to win, he wins, right? But let's talk about the director, Mr. Bennett Miller, who only has to his belt 3 films.
Yep.
Okay?
It's
Capote,
Capote, yeah.
Capote, yeah.
Moneyball, and
Mm-hmm.
he has Foxcatcher.
Yeah.
So all three are based on a true story. All three movies that he directed are as realistic as you can get to the true story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think and the time between projects also takes a long time for him to take on the project. In one of his interviews, he said like it takes everything out of him to be a director, and he gets like really absorbed in the project, and he leaves no time for the outside world, and that kind of consumes him, which you can see in the results. Like it's fantastically. All three of them are greatly directed. Capote won the best picture that year. Moneyball received a lot of praise. Foxcatcher same way. A lot of famous actors want to work with him, and uh, they want to get their strongest performance, and it's usually more dramatic roles. Like we're gonna get to the actors in this one, and Jonah Hill. That's his first breakthrough role from having that silly comedy vibes and performances that he did before this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but directing, yeah, like it's a very strong. You can see the tones, you can see the way that he portrays it, the way that like he works with the camera. There's a lot of close-up shots. There's a lot of still moments where the camera just captures the character, usually like their face, and there's sometimes a lot of dialogue, sometimes there's none. So his storytelling is both. It gets delivered through the dialogue, and it also presented through these stills on the characters going through their emotions, and you can clearly see it in this movie, like the reaction of Brad Pitt um, playing the character. Like he gets obsessed. He throws some chairs around.
Yeah.
There are a few couple times he turns around the car, and like nothing is delivered to you, but you understand what's happening. And that was where their part where they had to bring the people who were not involved in baseball to understand what's happening. So they had to show you a clip of what's happening in the field, and then they had to bring it back these actors in their characters respectively delivering the outcome of that situation on the field,
Yeah.
which was, I mean, magnificently done. Especially if we talk about that, there's only one scene, actual scene, filmed in a baseball field portraying the game, and
Yeah.
that was that one last game in the streak. So I mean, spoilers, I guess, if you guys have not seen the movie, or you did not follow baseball in 2002, we're gonna spoil a lot of things. But again, it's based on a true story. So
It is. So obviously, have you seen Foxcatcher? Have
I
you?
have,
Oh yeah,
it's a really good movie.
it is. It is. It's a very sad movie. Obviously, again, sports movie, more focus on wrestling. But I really enjoy what Bennett Miller does for this movie. Like you mentioned before, Soderbergh was attached to direct, and he wanted to make it more like a documentary and have the players portray themselves, and so the fact that you can still see that Bennett makes this in a way a very informational video or a movie for those who don't understand the game, and for those who lived that season or witnessed that season happen and understand the game, makes an even better experience viewing it. So I think he did a great, amazing job directing this movie, directing the performances of Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill by far. And I think this is where I come now with Jonah Hill. This was his first role in a non-comedy movie.
Right.
And he blows it out of the water with his performance.
Absolutely, he's on par with Brad Pitt, like in every single sense of the way. Like he does not seem intimidated. He does not slip. He does not come as like a comedic guy. He delivers his part, his role, really well. Like it's amazing how one actor wants to like take his career to the next level, and when he given an opportunity, he does not fail. He does not like gets intimidated. He's just brilliant on the screen, and I completely agree with you. Those two
Yeah.
and Seymour Hoffman, like that's trio
Yeah.
who steals the show. Absolutely.
I mean, Jonah Hill got an Oscar nomination because of this role. That's just enough to tell you how amazing it is. And he's not even portraying a real character. He's portraying a composite character,
right,
of the real guy behind the sabermetrics for Moneyball, right? Because the real guy, the real person, did not want his name to be used at all because he did not like the direction the movie was taken, so they had to create a character.
Was Paul DePodesta?
Yeah, mm-hmm.
And he actually joined the Oakland in 1999. Even though here we kind of see like Jonah Hill character being brought aboard in 2002, and yeah, as he said, you said he's playing Peter in this one. So
Jonah Hill, amazing performance by like Mr. Brad Pitt himself, Obviously, we already seen the type of actor he's on. Obviously, he did years before The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. That was his first Oscar nomination in the Best Actor category. He did a splendid job on that. But he really plays a believable general manager for a baseball team. Like you watch this movie and you see the scenes where he's negotiating players and trying to trade players and build this team from the scratch because he loses 3 of his top players. They go into free agency and they sign with multi-million-dollar teams. New York Yankees, Boston Red Sox, and Eisenhausen ended up signing with the Cardinals after that season. So we're talking about, and this is one of my favorite shots. It's that opening shot in the movie when they're showing the 2001 elimination game and that division series playoff. They show you the salary of the New York Yankees versus the salary of the Oakland Athletics.
Yep.
Obviously, everybody who knows baseball or have heard of baseball knows about the New York Yankees. One of the most powerful teams in baseball, one of the most million-dollar involved teams, like super tax-rich kind of crap baseball team, Every player at some point wants to be part of the New York Yankees, right? They got the money. They're known for buying players, signing them for extensive contracts, giving them the money that they want. They don't care. Here's a blank check. Tell me how much you want. They're known for that. To this day, they're still known for that. I'm a Yankee fan, but they're still known for that. And there's a part in the movie where Brad Pitt's character, again playing Billy Beane, he goes like, we can't, like, there's teams higher than us. There's team as us.
No,
and then there's 50
teams,
feet and then there's us. Like, we're below. Like, he even asked for the owner of the team in the movie for more money, and he's like, I can't give you more money. You need to build a team with what you got.
The owner of that club is played by the CEO of Activision.
Yeah.
Actually, the guy who runs Call of Duty games.
Yeah.
That was funny too.
And this is the reality of baseball. Baseball is a business, and this movie portrays it perfectly.
Okay. This is the roster.
Sorry, Siri's looking up the roster for the New York Yankees. But this movie portrays the business of baseball and how it's a $1 million business. Players are just treated like an asset. But it's just amazing. There's actually I've got a note here. There's something that he mentions in the movie when they're doing the flashback scenes, and it's just perfect. Is in the world of baseball, many are called, few are chosen. That's baseball for you. Many get the call, only few are chosen, and this is the business of baseball, and this is the way the movie portrays it perfectly. But before we go into more into detail about the screenplay, the plot, let's talk about the performance of Mr. Phillip Seymour Hoffman, who plays the Oakland A's manager, Art Howe.
Right. He's the most hated character in the movie.
Siri, mind your own business.
I mean, like, I think you had to have like a sort of a villain, and in every movie you kind of need somebody who's going to be on the opposite side, and in this one they chose to be the manager. I guess it's not the coach, right? In baseball, you call
in baseball, the manager. Yeah, okay, Art Howe was the manager of the Oakland A's, and Billy Beane's the general manager.
Right, and the real guy said that it was the depiction of the character which completely diminished what he was in reality. So we have to take that character with a grain of salt. So performance is fantastic, but if we can compare it to the actual facts,
obviously, I mean, like every movie, everything changes
if we talk about the movie, then yes,
dramatic purposes, but yeah.
For the dramatic purposes, he was outstanding. But name the movie where he wasn't fantastic. Like, starting from Boogie Nights, and I mean even before that, like, his performances are always memorable. He always plays the dude who if you don't root for him, you understand where he comes from.
Yeah.
And going forward, like, what is our next thing on the menu today?
So the next thing, I mean, let's talk about cinematography. We can't talk about a movie without talking cinematography. And the cinematographer for this movie is a very well-known photographer. It's Mr. Wally Pfister, who has collaborated frequently with Mr. Christopher Nolan in Inception, The Dark Knight, The Prestige, Batman Begins. And he actually also directed a movie in 2014 called Transcendence with Johnny Depp, which is a horrible movie.
Okay,
but
I went to see that in movie theaters.
You saw that in movie theaters?
Yes.
I saw it in movie theaters too.
Give me my money back.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that refund. Other than that, Mr. Wally Pfister is a very well-known cinematographer. Like I mentioned, he's done work with Nolan. He's a very frequent collaborator with Nolan. And it's very unique the way that this movie is shot. Like you mentioned, there's only one scene that's actually filmed in the baseball stadium. Everything else is done on the soundstage with a background and just highlighting the players hitting the ball. Like, that's very uncommon to do on the movie about baseball.
Right, or any sports movie. Like, you have to have some kind of sports, but sometimes you just kind of like, hey, listen, we're gonna take the sports part a little bit off the screen and just talk about it. I think like the latest one, like we can mention like Ted Lasso, like the
Mm-hmm.
the movie about the soccer club in England, where you get very little of soccer. I mean, lately in the season 2 you get more, but
Yeah.
that's the idea when they took the same kind of approach towards it. And I mean, in Blindside, when we're going to talk about that, that's kind of similarity too,
Yeah, and that's a common thing among sports movies.
right?
If it's baseball movie, most of the time they try to film in the stadiums during off season, where the stadiums are empty, and then they just get a group of extras and then they duplicate it. Also, like baseball movies are they're choreographed. You have a baseball choreographer who like lands the pitch for the actor to hit. Because most of these actors they do go through some training, but like at the end of the day, they're not real baseball players.
Well,
You got to sell it.
majority of these guys were actually baseball players in the
Yes.
life. So the
Yeah.
only person on a team, on a fake team, movie team, who did not had any professional career in baseball was Chris Pratt. He was
Mm-hmm.
the only guy who kind of like never played, officially on the team. But everybody else, like they had baseball experience, even though they did not had to use it that much. But
Yeah,
I
Mr.
guess
Chris Pratt right there.
just for the sake of like them being in the locker rooms and acting like what the players would do in the locker rooms to give that more authenticity, more that vibe of the documentary, was amazing. But speaking about cinematography, going back to some of the clips that they use showing the game, those are actual clips from actual Oakland Athletics games in
Yes.
2002.
Mm-hmm.
So they mashed together the clips from that season. Especially, they use a lot of footage from the opposite teams winning, because that way you just show their players, which are not technically in your movie, and it gives you that more realism effect, that gives you that more documentary style, and I mean, saves you obviously a lot of money of trying to re-film those moments. So it was a smart decision on both ends to give us more of the field, how it actually looked in 2002, plus saving money, plus keeping the documentary vibe going through.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that was a brilliant solution from the director and the cinematographer to kind of like, hey, let's mash these few things together and create this feel for people who been there, who've seen that season. That's something they can relive. That's something they can like look at and be like, hey, I remember that sign. I remember that celebration the other team did. I remember when they were showing the 20 win streak. I can remember how that game went or how this game was won. So yeah, overall, I mean, magnificent, very smart decision, very well
Yep.
played out. I think that there's nothing I can say about those parts which are negative. I'll get to the negative part later. I'll be the
All
Grinch
right.
of Christmas, but yeah. So
So
brilliantly shot, brilliantly directed. No, so far good.
so one thing this movie was marketing throughout its release is the fact that it's written by two of the greatest writers that Hollywood has right now at the moment,
Yep.
Mr. Steve Zillian and Mr. Aaron Sorkin. All right, both are Academy Award nominated slash winning writers. Mr. Steve Zillian won an Oscar for writing the Schindler's List, and
Sorkin won for the
Sorkin won for
Social Network.
Social Network. Yeah. So obviously Sorkin was brought in to rewrite the script once Steven Soderbergh left the project to give it a more of a film touch rather than a documentary style film. And we can see a lot of, for those who have seen Aaron Sorkin's work, we can see a lot of what we call Sorkinisms in the movie. Like I like to see like Sorkin as like Josh Whedon has his touch to make movies like super funny or like gimmicky, cringy. Sorkin is like the opposite of that in his own way. Like you have moments in the film like you're like that's a Sorkin dialogue right there. For example, one of my favorite ones is whenever they're in the draft room, and this is where Brad Pitt introduces Jonah Hill for the first time to his employees as the and he's like.
Yeah.
Points at him and he's like, oh, you want me to speak? It's like, when I point at you, You speak.
Yeah.
Right? And they start spitting out numbers, and he keeps pointing at him. I love that scene, and that's a Sorkinism right there. That's one of Aaron Sorkin's. You can tell that's his touch right there. And there's plenty of more scenes. Like, what do you think about the screenplay overall of this movie?
I mean, I like the the baseball part of it. I like the introduction of the characters into this environment where they understand that there's a problem. They understand what the problem is, and they think that they know the solution how to fix it. So the problem is that you already discussed that they don't have enough money to buy the best players. So they need to cherry pick players from somebody who is not desired by other teams. They need to find value in leftovers. So the way that they come up with that is by using mathematical equations. Like, yeah, it has to be math and magic combined, and that's how you're gonna get to the players which nobody wants, but they're gonna fit into this structure in this team. And you don't buy the players, you buy the wins. And how you buy the wins, you buy the runs. And the way you buy the runs is you get your team or your players on the base. So that's how they approach this theory, and that's how they decided to change the baseball history forever. And they succeeded.
Yeah.
So when it comes to screenplay, from that perspective, I got nothing to add, nothing to take off. Everything which Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt does on the screen with all the actors, all with the team, with everybody who is involved there, I got no beef there. It's perfection to the best. The problem where I see from rewatching it, this was my third time going, and I could not feel but to be bored when his daughter was involved, and when they had his flashbacks from his old playing times. And I think that's about 20 minutes of the movie, which does not, to me personally, does not add value. Since the script was based on the book, obviously they took the material and they took what's important of it and they put it in the script, and that's how you left it. Even though Sorkin came out there and reworked it, he said himself that he pretty much came when the script was already written, so he didn't want to change much, and he wanted what's the guy Zaillian's name?
Steve Zaillian, yeah.
Steve Zaillian's name out there, and when they got the best screenplay nomination, they both were nominated for it. But that being said, like, to me, like, I do not see the value of having, Brad Pitt and his daughter. I forgot her character, but I don't know the name
Cassie,
of her.
I think it was Cassie.
Yeah,
Cassie, something. Casey.
Casey. I don't understand why he went to see her, and then you have a Robin Wright as his ex-wife and her husband.
Spike Jonze, yeah.
Yeah, Spike Jonze, who appears in a lot of cameos. But so to me, that was like unnecessary stuff added to the movie. It was like, it's 2 hours and 11 minutes. It could have been, hour and 40, probably hour and 40. You could have cut it and just tell the story about the team. And that's my biggest complaint about the storyline.
Gotcha.
Or the script.
So, since you're mentioning those things, in a sense, I agree with you. Like, the whole his daughter scenes, like, it kind of throws off the storyline a little bit. For me, I feel like those scenes are there to show you Billy Beane's vulnerable side. Like, I think, like, the movie portrays him as this, like, workaholic, and I think they're trying to show you, like, he's not a workaholic. He's a family man. He is a normal human being like everybody else. That's my take on it. As far as Billy's past, I think the movie's just trying to show the viewer, like, who Billy Beane is. He's just not somebody that just got that position. This is a guy that went through the system of baseball. He was one of the many baseball players that get promised, like, hey, you're gonna be the starting center fielder for the New York Mets, and we're gonna pay you this bunch of money, like many players out there. And when they get to the show, like, they get to the big leagues, they can't cut it. And that's what we see throughout the movie. Billy Beane struggles in the major league. He starts to regret his decision. This is a guy that gave up a scholarship from a top university, Stanford, to go play Major League, which is the reality of a lot of baseball players, is that they give up college because they've been promised this big deal, like, hey, you're gonna make it big, and they don't make it. And I think those flashback scenes is just like showing you that a lot go up, but very few make it. And for you to make it, you have to be confident with yourself and fight hard. And I think that's the vulnerability of Billy Beane, is that he wasn't confident when he was up in the major leagues. I think that's why they show those flashback scenes. It's to the viewer understand that he went through the system and he understands the system. Also, I find, I put it on my notes, is that I think that those scenes are key for him to Pete Brand, played by Jonah Hill, and Brad Pitt, create a relationship. Because there's a very key moment when he calls Jonah Hill's character and he's like, would you have drafted me in the first round? Because Billy Beane was a first round player. He got drafted in the first round. And Jonah Hill's feeding him crap. It's like, oh, you're a very good player. And he's like, cut the crap and be honest with me. I know you looked me up. Based on what you saw, would you have drafted me in the first round? And Jonah Hill tells it, like, I would have taken you in the 9th round.
Without signing bonus.
Without a signing bonus. And then he goes, that would have made you probably go to college instead of signing. And he's like, and he just keeps signing, right?
Right, and that's like you still could have done the same thing without the flashbacks. I mean, that scene. I don't know if you defended the flashbacks or you kind of just like.
I'm defending the flashback. I think the flashbacks are essential to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree on that one because it does not add any value to whatsoever.
Oh, let's agree to disagree.
Okay.
All right. This is why we do this thing here.
I mean, I'm telling you, like if you
fucking Stevie
baseball. Next movie is gonna be Bend It Like a Beckham.
No, we gotta do. He told me about a movie. It's like The Longest Yard, but with soccer. I forgot the movie. It has Vinnie Jones on it. Stevie, you're still watching. Just let us know what that movie is.
Vinnie Jones movie. The only Vinnie Jones movie I know is the Two Smoking Barrels. Lock, stock. All right.
No, anyway. The Vinnie Jones has a movie. It's like The Longest Yard, but of football. Mean Machine. Yes. So season 3, we'll do Mean Machine for Stevie here.
We won't. Don't lie to them. Anyway, back to the script. What about his relationship? So you say like the daughter-father relationship necessary to us to what? To that he's human?
This is where I agree and maybe a little bit disagree. I just think it just shows a vulnerability from Billy Beane's character. Like, because we're seeing him as this like hard knock, like I need to get this team straight up. I'm not gonna take shit for an answer. He's arguing with the scouts, and I think
we're gonna add that relationship, right? So to make him more human, and then we're gonna turn the manager into the complete asshole. So we're gonna have a villain in this movie. All right, typical Hollywood. All right.
Yeah. All right. That's well said. That's right there, nail in the coffin.
All right. Moving.
Pass on that and do Green Street Hooligans or Football Factory. Noted, Stevie. We'll keep that in our notes.
I'll promise you to watch one of those.
I saw Green Street Hooligans years ago. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool movie. All right.
Acting. I mean, we already touched upon that.
I mean, the plot of this movie. Let's talk about how like the plot of this movie, which is based on a book. Based on a true story, we got the 2002 Oakland Athletics, who were a team that were built like players that they were bought for $250,000, right? Compared to $7.5 million that Johnny Damon got from the from Boston, right?
Right.
And it's kind of like a team that started from the bottom and they rose up and they made it to the playoffs and like. They say at the end of the movie, like to this day, Billy Beane is still waiting to win the last game of the season. And for those who don't understand that, the last game of the season is when you win the last game of your World Series and you win it all. The Oakland A's haven't won a World Series since like 1985, and that's when like Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire were part of that team. They've been a playoff team multiple times. They won division, they won wild cards, but they still can't manage to win that last game of the season. Obviously, the plot of this movie is basically what the title says, Moneyball. Like, how do you build a team when you can't compete with other teams that are better from the money standpoint.
Yeah, who better
How,
financed,
yeah,
who have
how
more
do
money
you
than you.
replace a player that gave you 100 plus RBI, which stands for runs batted in? How do you replace one player? And this is where the plot of the movie comes. It's called sabermetrics, and they look at statistics, and this is where the character Pete Brand comes. Jail graduate with a degree in economics and working for a baseball team. He looks at stats. He's like, hey, I got three players that can give you an on base percentage of an average of 300. That's what you need. People that get on base. And there's a whole scene in this movie of them. It's like, what do we need? People that get on base. I don't need people that hit home runs. I need people that get on base. You get on base, you score runs, and that's the world of baseball. And at that time, 2002, when this was happening, like people saw that and they laughed. It's like, this is a joke. You can't look at baseball like that. You need to look at baseball like as talent. You got to sign. You got to try to have the best players on your teams for you to win. You know, but the Oakland A's defy that rule by doing this, building a team, win 90 plus games with a team that has way less of a salary cap than the New York Yankees, for example. And this is basically the plot of the movie. Like, it's the way they changed the game of baseball. Because after that, other teams like Boston Red Sox adopted the same technique, and they won the World Series in 2004. They broke a 100-year-old curse that they believed in, called the Curse of the Bambino. And they won the first World Series in over 100 years in 2004 because they employed the same technique that the Oakland A's did. This is the plot of the movie. And it's a movie, but at the same time, it's just the reality of how much the game of baseball changed. And that's why I picked this movie under this category. Like, what do you think about the plot? Like,
I mean, it's based on a true story, and I'm a sucker for documentaries. Like if there's a good documentary, I've seen it. And when people turn documentaries into stylistic movies, art movies, of course I'm on board. Like, I mean, we talked about Social Network, we talked about this. There's another hundreds of movies that are based on a true story or very close to it, which are phenomenal stories. And that's the thing, you don't have to really reinvent anything. You just have to package it and present it very well. And this is what this movie does. It presents it very well, and it delivers the points that it tries to make. It delivers them very well. And as you mentioned, hey, listen, we don't have enough money to get all the best players, so let's get the players that will give us the best results. And this is what they did, and this is what they showed. And a 20 win streak that never been done before, and it have not been done since. So this was the team which did not win. Unfortunately, it wasn't an overall Cinderella story because they did not won. What is it called? World Series, I
the
believe.
World Series, yeah.
Yeah, but they were always going to be remembered as a team and a general manager which changed the game. The problem with that was that, as you mentioned yourself, in 2004, Adapted Strategy won the championship, the World Series, to the other team, Boston Red Sox. Now with the team who has that money, so now they have money, and now they have the strategy. So in this sense, the Oakland Athletics, they shot themselves in the foot where they cannot recreate the same success
Mm-hmm.
because now the game is rigged. It's like now it's the cat is out of the bag. You cannot redo the same thing because the secret is out and everybody can replicate it. So I mean that's my only kind of like the sad part of this plot of this movie, of this true story, is that at the end they did what they did. They changed the game for better, I believe. But now they themselves cannot replicate it. And I don't know. Like I have the split decision why Billy stayed with Oakland and why he did not take. I mean, I understand in the movie they say it like he did not take the payout
Mm-hmm.
because he did that originally as a rookie baseball
Yeah.
player. So he's like, I'm not gonna let money dictate it, but it's
Yeah.
like, it's kind of silly. You were offered like $12.5 million to go to play for one of the best teams in the league, but you're gonna stick. And your strategy, you understand that if your strategy adapted, it's never gonna be.
Yeah, but I think
What,
I mean, it's just the point that no, he never did the things that he did for money.
I mean, I know, but I'm just saying.
I feel you. What's your favorite moment in the movie?
I mean, my favorite scene is the setup of the entire movie for that last final, the bad hit, where the Chris Pratt character
Mm-hmm.
Hedberg, I believe that's his name.
Scott Hatterberg, yeah.
Scott Hedberg hits that ball, and the manager lets him go and do it because he understands at that point of the movie, maybe not the game, but at that movie that we were up 11 points and now we're losing 11 points, and from my understanding 11 is a lot in baseball, like to score
It
11
is. It's a
and
big
to lose
margin.
11. So now you have 11-11 and you have a choice to play, I guess, somebody who has the best chance to get on the base. Obviously the coach, sorry, the manager does not know he's going to get there, but he's going to score the home run, right? That's
Yeah.
So he does not know he's going to do that, but at least he has the best chance out of everybody who he sees on his squad to get to the base, and that's all he wanted him to do. It wasn't like that he predicted him to score the home run. He just was like, out of everybody who I see on my pitch, like this is the guy who's going to go out there and get the highest chance to get on the base, and that's what Peter and Billy were preaching for entire like hour and a half. So to me, that's the most monumental moment when he hits the ball, and there's like the silence, and you hear that, and then the ball flies away, and the Brad Pitt character turns around while he's sitting in the gym, and that's the beauty of this movie. Another thing that I love about it is like Billy put all the work, right? He put this team together. He did everything in his power as a GM to make this work. And through the movie, you see him going away during the games and like working out. You see him like lifting weights. You see him like running. So he's preparing physically, right? He's like running, and it's showing you like, hey, you need to work. You need to work out. You need to invest your effort in order to achieve results. And here he already put all the work, and all he has left is just to wait for the results. So now he's sitting in an empty gym, no longer working out, no longer listening to the radio, but that bad hit to the ball, he hears it, and that's when he understands that all the hard work paid out.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a poetic, and they mentioned that in the movie that the baseball is one of the most romantic. How do they say it? Like
How can you not get romantic with baseball?
right? So there you go. So you got that, and to me, that's such a like good line, and it's such a good scene, and it's powerful, and it understood by anybody. You may never watch baseball in your life, but when you get to that point, when you see that scene, you understand what was given to you before that and how it's delivered. That's what cinema does. That's what movies do. They make you feel. So you're gonna feel in that moment. You're gonna shed a tear. You're gonna be super pumped. You're gonna be excited, but you're gonna feel. So that's, I mean, to me, that's the best scene. Which one is yours?
Oh man, I got a lot, but I really enjoy when Billy Beane trades Pena out of pettiness, because Art Howe kept putting Pena on the lineup, and throughout the movie, Billy Beane's like, I want Hatterberg on the playing first on the lineup. Art Howe's like, no, Pena's a better player. He's not only a first baseman, he's my only first baseman, and they're going back and forth throughout the movie. So there's a moment in the movie where Brad Pitt, Billy Beane, has enough, and he goes like, I'm about to trade Pena. So he calls up the phone. He calls the GM from the Detroit Tigers. That's who he gets traded to. He's like, hey, I'm looking. Pena's on the block. Who you got for me? And they mention some player, and he's like, done. Let's handle the paper. And he hands up, and Jonah Hill's character's like, he was about to say something. When you get what you want, you hang up. Right? And he proceeds. And then the following scene, it's one of my favorites, because he goes to Art Howe's office in the clubhouse. And he goes, sits down. It's like, I want Hatterberg on the lineup tonight and playing first base. And Narhal's like, Billy, I don't want to play 15 rounds with you. This is my team. Let me manage it as I do. It's like, well, you can't play Pena because he just got traded to Detroit. Arhel just does is like this big like 180. He's like, you traded Pena, and then he goes like, yeah. So you can't play him because he plays for Detroit now. And then he calls Jeremy Giambi into the office like, oh yeah, Jeremy, sit down. You've been traded to the Philadelphia Phillies. This is the GM. Give him a call. He'll handle all the paperwork. And then he looks at Arhel and goes like, yeah, you can't use Giambi either.
I think he said it like, I can do this all day.
Yeah, I can do this all day. Like, I just love it because he was like, at the end of the day, I'm the general manager and you're the manager. So you're going to play the players that I ask you to play. And if you don't want to do it this way, I'll find a way for you to play it. And how he does it, he trades their best player to a rival team.
I mean, that's a great scene. One question. Does the Captain America says I can do it all day before this movie or after?
This movie, Captain America: First Avenger, was released in July of 2011. So this was before this movie.
Okay.
There you go. Hey Kyle, what's up? Thank you for joining in.
There's good teams and bad teams, and then
there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's us.
Yep.
That's where the Oakland A's were standing in 2002, after they lost 3 of their biggest players. So what's I mean, obviously, I think you mentioned your least favorite scenes are the ones with the daughter.
Everything with the daughter, that's my least favorite. And the ending is just like, it does not. If this would have been like love, daughter and father relationship, like sure that ending fits, but it was a baseball movie. It was a movie about using math to create the best possible score.
Okay.
Instead they play some cheesy song and like I mean, I understand that type of relationship. I mean, I'm raising a 17-year-old. Well, not raising, but I have a 17-year-old niece, 16-year-old niece. So yeah, I get it. But I'm not gonna mention that thing like all over and over again, so for people to know that it's happening in my life, right?
I gotcha.
So here it's like it's there for just that one specific reason, and it just, to me, it doesn't fit. It's like doing a horror movie and then have like a fighting scene with like martial arts. Like, it just does not fucking fit, you know. Or having romantic comedy with a fucking some horror elements.
Yeah.
I mean, there's things that mix together well, but this just to me was not one of them. You know.
Fair enough. I mean, I guess for me, I think I have to agree with you on the scenes with the daughter. You know, even though like for me, it's like it shows it vulnerable, but like overall, that doesn't really have to do much with the plot of the movie itself being a solely baseball movie where it's knowing stats and numbers is what drives the plot. So I agree with you on that. And
it doesn't drive the plot. It does not add anything to the character. Our character, like Billy, is the same guy in the beginning of the movie and at the end of the movie. He does not go through transformation. He does not have a fucking arc. He's just the same guy. It just environment changed. Or he changed the environment that he's been. But he does not have like soul-searching experience through this storyline. He just like, well, I did it. I mean, I could have not succeed and I could be all right with that. Like, to him, winning or losing was the same fucking thing. He did not accomplish what he wanted to do, which is to win the last game, so he feels defeated. Yeah. And at the end, when and Jonah Hill, Peter comes and he's like, let me show you something. And he takes him to the room and he shows me some dude like from, I guess it's a minor league. Or
it's from their minor league team, yeah.
Yeah, so from their minor league team being all expired, and he hits the ball and he does something he never done before, was trying to
go for second. Yeah.
Go for second, and then it trips on the first, and it's like the nightmare of every baseball player, but he gets up and everybody
hit a home run.
To realize is that he just hit the home run, and that's when they say the famous line, and that should be it. Like, that should be the fucking cut screen. And if you think about like cut off all the daughter scenes and cut off all of his previous backstory,
the flashback scenes,
and there you go, perfect cut. This would have been a perfectly cut movie, but it's not, and that's why we have you have us to argue about it, or at least to kind of mention that part. We're not really arguing; we're just kind of like
There you
digesting the freaking movie.
All right. Well, final thoughts. What's your final thoughts on this movie?
I think everybody should see it at least once. I think this movie is extremely powerful. It shows you that if you set your mind to something, you don't have to back down. And sometimes it works out, like in this scenario. Sometimes maybe it doesn't. But like if you don't try to put all the work in it, you're never gonna succeed in whatever you're trying to do. So I think it's less about the result. It's all about like you need to put all the work in order
Yeah.
to succeed. And a lot of other movies are just like, hey, we succeeded. We don't know how, but like we did this, and here's the successful story. Here, it just shows you that the whole uh, the whole process. It tells you how it started, why it started. We saw the problem. We decided to fix it. We did not know if it's going to be successful or not, but in theory and math backed it up that we should be successful, and they did. And that replicated. That's one of those things that just fucking blows up, and that's how the next Netflix gonna be successful. That's how. I mean, I'm spitballing, but like in my mind, the next story we're gonna see like that is probably gonna be the story about that dude who like bet against like hedge funds into the GameStop options.
Yeah.
Roaring Kitty, I think that's his name on YouTube, and Deep Fucking Value is his name on Reddit. And the guy put $50,000 against the $1 billion machine and won and walked away. I guess with 50 million. I mean, that's the story of this decade, and that story was the story of the first decade of 21st century. And I mean, I love it. Like the same thing we can say the Facebook was the story of the second decade, and the GameStop story is going to be the story of the third decade. And I see that happening, and that would be an inspiring movie if somebody decides to make it. But
Well,
typically,
it'll definitely get made. I mean, we have a movie about the collapse of the 2008 market,
there you go, Big Short.
the housing market, Big Short. So yeah,
I mean, humans, we are so irrational, we're so spontaneous, we do some weirdest, craziest thing, either good or bad. So there's always going to be documentaries. There's always going to be the movies based on a true story. So yeah, we're gonna come back to that. I don't think we have a movie based on a true story.
Not yet. Probably for season 3. We'll do that category season 3. Yeah.
So what is your take? What is your final thought?
I mean, again, it's definitely a movie everybody should at least see once. It's a great sports film. If you are into sports film, this has to be a must in your collection or in your watch list. If you love baseball, this is even more a must. Like, you need to have this movie your own. This is like it's like Field of Dreams, and like Field of Dreams is like the top baseball movie ever, right? And then you have The Sandlot, Major League, and then you have Moneyball right here, There's so many baseball movies out there. The Natural, like, the list can go on and on, but like Moneyball, you gotta have to watch this at least once if you're a baseball fan or a sports fan. Great performances, great script, entertaining movie. You learn a lot about the game, even if you never played it or understand it. Like, it's still very fundamental, instructional. Like, you learn it. So definitely watch it. You can buy or rent it on any digital platform.
I know you can see it on Prime.
It's a Prime.
I think you can. I'm not 100%.
Oh, check out Prime. If not, buy or rent on your digital platforms. And so, before we wrap up, just a quick promo. For those who still haven't seen our last week episode, last week we did Guilty Pleasure Legends of the Fall, starring Brad Pitt, Anthony Hopkins, Aidan Quinn, and Julianne Armand. Check out that video and all of our YouTube, Facebook channels. Give us a like, give us a comment. And then next week's episode, we're going to kickstart, in a way, the Halloween season. Next week's episode is on September 27th. And then after that, it's October. So we got to do some horror / Halloween movies, right? So what better way to kickstart with Donnie Darko?
Okay. All right. I like that. Okay.
I believe this is a movie that you picked,
I believe so. This is
What was the category for this one?
Cult Classic.
Cult Classic. So Donnie Darko, under the category Cult Classic, will kickstart our MovieByte Halloween month. We'll have some really good horror movies coming up. Donnie Darko, Aliens, Midsummer, It Follows. And then we'll take a little pause in between to talk about Dune, which premieres in October. But yeah, Halloween month coming around the corner. We're going to kickstart with Donnie Darko. So a lot of people out there have seen this movie. A lot of people are fans of this movie. So come and join us next Monday, September 27th at 8 p.m. And join the talk and join us as we digest this classic that kickstarted the career of many actors like Jake Gyllenhaal, for example, the classic Donnie Darko. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been MovieByte Podcast. We just talked about Moneyball. Follow us on our social media at MovieByte Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook. Leave us comments. Let us know how we can improve, make things better. If you didn't like it, let us know. We'll take the criticism. We're all there for that. And again, thank you for all of our subscribers. Thank you for spreading the word. Continue doing so. We do this for fun, but the support is very, very appreciated. So, with all that being said and done, thank you so much, and we'll see you all next week.